Oh, there it goes. I thought I could make it. Tony, welcome. Thanks for watching the premiere. Carpe, if you're out there, thanks for watching the premiere. Zach, thanks for hanging out with us, man. Good to see you. Hope you are doing better, my friend. Not working as much. And yes, a rip for the big boys. Currently reviewing. No spoilers. It'll be probably a while before it comes out. Some sauce. Live resin infused. And that's a curious phrase, but that's not for now. Thought I'd do a nice blinker with you now that I finally know what the term means. I apologize to whoever taught me. But we did want to start in your honor. Welcome, Carpe. Good to see you, man. Just did our big Plug Play re-review. And surprise, surprise, Plug Play is still my favorite vape brand out there. Really nothing like them. I don't know what their magic is. But happy to shill for them. And by shill, I mean give them a free promotion. Because they give me nothing. Carpe says, I got that Ring of Fire song stuck in my head off that Papa's Herb Blue that his dad got, and that they don't have it there in Arizona. Are you talking about the Johnny Cash song, A Ring of Fire? If so, it's a great song to get stuck in your head, and it's a very easy one to get lodged in there if you're afflicted with earworms often. There's something just about the cadence of that song that just feels particularly infectious, and Johnny's delivery. It's, you're probably going to get it stuck in my head, but I don't think I'd mind. Grovel, good to see you, man. How are you doing? Thanks for hanging out with us again. Zach says, Old Pal's got $16 eighths on Kushgram right now. That is a hell of a good deal for a quantity that small. If actually extrapolated out to an ounce price, it's less great, but when purchasing in small quantities, $16 for an eighth is not bad at all. Old Palace makes some good stuff. I've had a lot of stuff I've liked from theirs, and one thing that was really bad. They had a disposable, the most unique disposable I've ever seen before. Totally unique shape. Didn't look basically like a 510 battery grafted onto a cartridge and called a unit. It was this unibody little, I assume, aluminum tube with maybe a smaller circumference than an actual cigarette, and no way to see how much oil was in there. And it didn't really work. But that was a long time ago. Gravel asks, anyone else seen She-Hulk twerking with Megan? Is it The Stallion? Is that how you say it? I have watched the first 2 episodes now, Gravel, of She-Hulk. Actually, on your suggestion, I remember a couple weeks back when the show premiered and you had reminded me. I was like, oh, maybe I'll check that out. I have mixed feelings. The CGI really is not great. It is noticeably, I mean, the term green screen feels inappropriate because, you know, the color of She-Hulk's skin, but it does not look at all like there is a physical thing there. It looks like it is something cut and pasted into a new environment. And they also don't have the sight lines really right yet, I've noticed, like, because I don't know how they're doing it, like, when they're actually filming it, if the main actress is in the room with them when they are filming, and do they have her up on stilts when, like, she's being She-Hulk and talking to people when she's, like, 2 feet taller? But their eyes never line up right when they're talking to She-Hulk, or they frequently don't. It looks like because I don't think they knew how tall they were going to make her yet. Maybe. But I think she's really great. I've never seen the show Orphan Black, but people really like her. And they're gonna have to figure out that very tricky tone very quickly. It's unfortunate that I guess Deadpool was the first the public had exposure to, like, a very fourth wall breaking kind of character, because I think She-Hulk predates that. But it seems to be at a disadvantage to be as fourth wall breaking as something like Deadpool, but then to be hampered with like a Disney Plus, both aesthetic and vibe, meaning not raunchy at all. Just a tad on the, incredibly family friendly, and the jokes never shade into anything more than mildly bawdy. But I hope it can figure it out. I think it could be cool, if that's, and especially if that's all the TV that's going to get made anymore. It would be nice to have something a little different like that, if they can figure it out. Real quick before I move on, and I don't want to talk too much more about it, but I am shocked. I've read all of the reviews now of, not all, I've actually just glanced at the reviews. I don't really read reviews for things I'm interested in, because I'll read stuff after. But if I'm interested in something, I'll probably watch it or experience it, and then I'll let people's opinions try to influence me, but generally not before. The Lord of the Rings Amazon show, a thing that by all accounts for years has been described as the most expensive show ever made, and now by all accounts absolutely looks like it, and I mean that in a good way. The reviews are, the bits and pieces that I've seen just gush about how this is the most spectacular looking thing ever on television. I guess what Lord of the Rings did for blockbuster filmmaking in terms of scale and scope and grandeur, the show attempts to replicate in TV. And that's enough to get me pretty interested, to be honest. And it also seems like it's not bad otherwise, even in terms of being just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. So I've gone from practically no interest to being cautiously optimistic about the new Lord of the Rings show premiering in, like, I don't know, 12 hours or whatever on Amazon. I was a big Tolkien guy. Read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. The Fellowship of the Ring came out my freshman year of high school. Saw it opening night with a big group of friends for the next 3 years. So, I loved my Tolkien, but I think I was ready to move on. But this sounds interesting. Color me surprised. Carpe says that they did see, however, She-Hulk twerking with Megan. Is it Thee Stallion? I don't keep up with pop music. I think that's her name. I know that I've seen the name written. I don't know if I've ever heard it said. Zach says, concurring about Old Pal and their disposables as sucking. It's time for my, by the way, sorry to stop. And we'll get to a bag. I haven't done that yet. I blinkered out. It's time for our dog treat introduction. Go. Yes, let's do our first bag. thank you everybody for hanging out with us here. We'll do this very first bag for our oldest and greatest moderator, Grovel. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. And also the She-Hulk question. Okay, let's see. Timothy, welcome, Timothy. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your last name. I would love to, but I don't want to really insult you, which is what I think would happen if I attempted it. But it looks very fun to say to attempt. Yes, what's your poison of choice today, my guy? Not a good use of words since it's not alcohol I'm talking about. Ooh, well, thank you for making the distinction, Timothy. And this is still the very, very, very last bit of Alien Trails. Space Trails. Either, I think it's Space Trails. A strain I'm not sure really exists that I've been doing for a while. And this is probably the second to last day of its use before I get a restock with something else. Appreciate the question. And again, also the distinction between alcohol and weed and as to which one is poison and which one is not. Nice. Uninspired. Welcome back, Uninspired. Says, have you seen the Dragon Ball Super movie in theaters? Excellent question, Uninspired. I've not seen it. Will I see it? That depends on a big question, Uninspired. Is it, I assume it is not actually a traditional theatrical release. It is still one of the, extra theatrical experiences that are, I think animes are often in this category, where a outside source will basically bring it in for 1 weekend or 2 weekends and play it. Although Dragon Ball seems to be playing every day, but I do still think that it has, like, its ticket charges are higher than the actual theater, because that revenue goes in a different way, is calculated in a different way, and which also just means it's excluded from any other kind of like AMC A-list or Movie Pass or whatever your service is. But I don't have any qualms about actually seeing it. I don't know how much Dragon Ball knowledge one has to enjoy watching it. Mine ends like whoever Cell. Is that the one after Frieza? That's where mine ends. I recognize them all. I mean, I played that Dragon Ball fighting game last gen. It was excellent. Looked great. There's a cat now. Who knew there was a cat in Dragon Ball? That's cool as hell. And I bet it would be an excellent movie to go see high and just watch Goku beat the shit out of people, do some Kamehamehas. But I don't know if I want to spend like $20 to do that. But if it could be part of an AMC A-list or something to that effect, just watch Goku beat the shit out of each other. So, real quick, backing up, Uninspired, to your comment about Dragon Ball. I bet if you guys have heard, it seems like it's becoming a bigger deal. Basically, every chain in the United States this Saturday is participating in National Movie Theater Day. And every single theater chain, big one, is offering $3 movie tickets for everything. And I think a lot of them are even offering $3 for the premium formats.
Love the latest slogan flavor. Any plans to cover their live resin cartridges?
Uninspired. Thank you so much, man. That's so kind. To address your question real quick, I would love to. I actually probably will do that just as a reason to use Plug Play again in the future, and then get another review out of it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another Plug Play review at some point in the not too distant future. But I haven't done one yet. I've got to give it some kind of break between them. But any excuse to do plug play is great to me. Anyways, and thank you again, Uninspired. Super appreciate it. After I'm done with this movie theater rant, let me go back real quick to the whole thing on donations, because I should probably say something. But anyways, first, movies. Yes, this Saturday, movie theater day. Go out to the movies. See anything for $3, including, I think a lot of places are offering like their IMAXs and 3Ds at $3 tickets. Additionally, it is a weekend of re-releases. Movie theaters are bringing back huge, big hits of the past. From recent ones like Spider-Man to more classics like Jaws. My partner and I are going to go see Jaws 3D on Saturday. Really looking forward to it. I've not seen the 3D version myself, but I've heard it's actually a great conversion. And as a 3D fan, love 3D. Really excited to check it out. If you are 3D movie fans, there are some really great conversions out there. Believe it or not, one of the best, Titanic. Well, probably not that surprising, being James Cameron, still champion of 3D today. But the 3D Titanic conversion that was done, I don't know, back in the heyday of 3D movies is excellent. Watch that 3D Blu-ray twice. It's great. But again, this Saturday, Ultimate Point, which is $3 movie tickets from almost every movie theater in the country. You can go see your IMAX. You can go see your classics. Give it a chance if you haven't been back in a long time. Movies are great. All right, real quick. Uninspired. Thank you so much for your donation. First and foremost, please don't anybody ever feel like they need to donate, ever. If you feeling charitable, there are much better uses for you. Not that I am not at all grateful, or certainly not trying to look at gift horse enough. I'm just saying, I don't want anybody to ever feel compelled. But the bigger, like, well, I don't know if it's the bigger thing. Maybe. I don't get that. Even if you do donate to me, I've never received a cent from it ever. Not because, like, I've just forwarded it somewhere else. It's grosser than that. It's really just a gross thing that it just sucks. Like, what happens is there's a certain monetary threshold you have to hit of donations before Google will pay them out to you. And what happens is my account will get demonetized. Like, Google will revoke my ability to be a partner. They'll revoke that thing arbitrarily all the time. And what that means is that, like, empties out that money. It just goes away if you don't hit that threshold. And then when you get randomly re-partnered again, when it just randomly comes back on, you basically start from zero again. And it's like, I've never... You're just basically giving Google money at this point for no reason. And they certainly don't need it either. It's really gross. I don't think it's actually like a thing that... I'm not saying that they're doing this insidiously, that they're doing it consciously, that they're doing this as like some kind of scam. Not at all. I don't matter. I don't make it... anybody that makes this little money just, are so far beneath an even rounding error that it just doesn't even cross their mind. And while it I assume is technically theft on their part, there's just nothing that can ever be done about theft on this scale. Google knows that it's not worth their time to like fix something like that. And they know that I'm never going to take them to court to try to scrounge up and, tiny amounts of monetary damages because it will cost me more to even bring the suit than it will be than I will retrieve. So it's just this like, I don't think they're doing it intentionally, but they have no incentive to fix something like this. Yeah, it may actually be one time they don't just randomly pull my partner license or whatever at some point. And maybe that pot of money sits somewhere that I don't know about or is inaccessible. But I don't know. I've never seen anything because, as I said, it gets like wiped out every time. But again, I really do appreciate it uninspired. I just wanted to be very upfront with people about those things. So it, just in case. All right. Grovel says, sorry everybody for the very, very, very long break from chat, says, in regards to the new Lord of the Rings show, what's it called? War of Power, some kind of, I don't know, the Lord of the Rings Amazon show. That he hopes the show's budget doesn't make Jeff Bezos go broke. Facetious as you may be, Grovel, I kind of do. If Jeff Bezos wanted to fund all of his personal wealth into a vanity Lord of the Rings project, cool beans, man. Better than, well, I don't know. I don't totally hate Jeff Bezos's long-term idea that every human should probably ultimately live in orbit and basically just turn the Earth back into a giant nature preserve all over again, and that we should all just live in orbit permanently and just visit Earth on occasion. I'm mostly being facetious, but Jeff Bezos, what a guy. What a midlife crisis. And what beautiful, beautiful abs. Rhode Island Hiker, so good to have you back, man. How have you been? Thanks for hanging out with us. Carpe Bayet says, you got to respect the neatness on the quality of all Pete's content. Well, thanks, man. I never thought of myself as having neatness and quality, but I appreciate it. Rhode Island Hiker asks, have I been watching the new Game of Thrones show? No. I might at some point, but shh, no. I might at some point. Go, buddy. Go. But as of right now, I don't know. I'm still feeling pretty burned, to be honest. And it's going to take a lot to get over it. And also this new Lord of the Rings show, if I need, I need my fill of high fantasy dragons and killing, maybe I'll go with that. I can't say I'll never do it with Game of Thrones. I can't say I'll never do it. I'm also very curious, back to your question a little bit, Rhode Island Hiker, if I'm going to ever read, if it ever comes out, what's the next book supposed to be called? The Winds of Winter, I think. I'm so curious if I'll read it. I hate to be that guy. I mean, I hate to be that mother effer, but I really did read the books before the show, and was that guy that was like, dudes, you gotta be like real excited for this crazy new HBO thing coming up that has all this incest and dragons and fighting and warring and murdering, and people be like, all right, man, yeah, I'll watch a show with dragons on HBO. Yeah, okay. Um, I was there on release day for the fifth book. Read that sucker in like 3 days. I think the fifth book is pretty bad, to be honest. Really showing signs of a shaggy dog story. And might just say I am done with the Song of Ice and Fire universe. Release that franchise shackle from me. No. The way so many of us have said goodbye, Harry Potter, in our adulthood, maybe I'll remove one more, just as like the chains on a maester's robe. Say, fare thee well, Game of Thrones. But maybe not especially if there's supposed to be real good boobs. I don't know. Okay, Bravo, back to Dragon Ball, says that the movie focuses on Gohan and Piccolo, not Goku. I know both of them too. They're from my era of Dragon Ball. I love them both. Gohan's the son. He's the one who goes over 9,000. Piccolo's got antennas. He's green. I'm in. If it doesn't cost $20 to see it, I might have an ass in a seat. And thank you everybody for filling me in. Tony says, thanks for letting me know. That's pretty cool. Got to see some movies. That is in regards to the fact that Saturday, of course, is movie day. John Edwards, drums. John Edwards, welcome. Welcome back, I think. I think we've hung out before, and I'm sorry if that's not the case. John, as you are our newest chatter, I just emptied a bag. Let's do this second bag for you. Well, guys, I think I've had my Steam Deck now long enough that I can start making more grand declarations and proclamations about the Steam Deck after a lot of play. Not even as a small child with like the Super Nintendo or the original Game Boy do I think I have played a device as much as I have in its like the first month or so that I've had it. I just can't stop messing around with the Steam Deck. It's so delightful. It really is the promise that was set up. All those expectations that Valve gave us when they first set up the first press conference for the Steam Deck and laid out all these lofty aspirations, it still blows me away. I've played so many old games, old things in my Steam library that either half played or never tried, as so many Steam libraries are filled with. And been playing the shit out of Spider-Man again. Played it on the PlayStation back when, but just excellent on the Steam Deck. I just love that thing, man. If you are in the market for a gaming, how would you? What is the exact market for the Steam Deck? That's a curious question. I would say if you're in the market for a Switch, it is definitely a thing to consider. if you're in the market for a PC generally, but you are not also in the market because you want to play the best things at the best possible resolution and frame rate, definitely consider the Steam Deck. If your primary concern though is just playing the latest and greatest big releases from big studios, probably stick with a PS5 or a gaming PC. But otherwise, man, if you just have a big backlog of Steam games, or you particularly like playing things in a pick up, put down fashion, it definitely has that Switch's versatility. Just makes you wish that your own PC could just suspend games as easily as it can. I just cannot recommend enough. Even if the thing is hot garbage at moments, it crashes all the time. It feels plasticky. The screen is. I mean, I've heard it described as like, oh, it's a fine screen. It's garbage. But shit, do I absolutely love it. I've played Metal Gear Revengeance through it entirely. Cult of the Lamb, this excellent new game. Cross between Animal Crossing and like Hades or Dead Cells. Beat the entire thing on it. About to have played through all the new Lego Star Wars on it. It's just it's been so much fun. If you are on the fence, the hype is real. Steam Deck. Well, John Edwards, I'm glad I wasn't mistaken. John Edwards has hung out with us a few times before. And Carl has just asked, do you ever use pressed hash in that volcano? I don't, Carl. I've only really used hash maybe 2 or 3 times ever. And I guess I think of hash as a very specific thing, but I think it gets used more generally too. But I've only used like the actual, what you would consider the textbook definition of hash a couple of times. And it was like when I first moved to California and didn't really get the appeal. I found it very difficult to use as a material, hard to know what to do with frequently. But do you know of good experiences with it in the volcano, Carl? Major Jordan says you can smoke / vape weed on YouTube. Apparently, now, Major Jordan, I'm guessing you weren't here just a little bit ago. I have been banned more than once for doing so. But it is all I've done since I've been on YouTube, like 5 years now. And I assume one day I will irrevocably, permanently, finally be banned for who knows whatever reason. But until then, I will continue to smoke weed on YouTube. Carl says that he doesn't know about the volcano and hash. The reason he is asking, though, is that he is looking for devices that will handle it. So, Carl, then curious if you would mind answering first. What is your why do you find yourself with a lot of hash? Why do you or why do you like hash over other weed concentrates? Just very curious what where your interest in hash comes from. I find it. I basically never ever see it anymore. When I did see it, it was only ever available at gray market, black market dispensaries. That was, it's been a while since I've been to one of those. But yeah, just curious why, if you have a particular affinity for it, and if so, why? I always find it fascinating to know why people have their specific strain or their specific delivery mechanism or their whatever it is with weed. Everybody's got a couple of particulars, but maybe it's just your friend gave you a shit ton of hash. I don't know. Carl says there's a lot of quality hash out where he is. Oh, there's just a lot of hash where he is. But when you find some quality stuff, it's awesome. Well, that makes sense, just based on supply, Carl. But I'm afraid I can be of practically no help, having practically zero experience with hash. My apologies, man. Bravo giving me the Bill Clinton defense with Major Jordan that I am not inhaling. I certainly have been accused of that many times in many comments. When I first started doing cartridge reviews a while back, so this was specific to cartridges, and really only happened at the beginning. I don't see people criticizing me as much anymore, but people would very often accuse me of not inhaling, or that I would not inhale long enough that to satisfy their, what they had grown up with as the requisite number of seconds one must keep, in their lungs before achieving the maximum amount of THC absorption. And that number, as far as we know, is very close to zero. You tend to absorb it all almost immediately. But people on the internet really get very defensive about the precise amount of seconds it needs to be in your lungs and how it looks to consider it inhaling. But maybe I've just done a better job of actually inhaling. I don't know. Carpe, with an excellent reasoning for why hash seemed to be not nearly as popular as it once was. In addition to my speculation, that of course it's just that there are plenty of other ways to distill cannabis now and that are easier and more potent even. But Carpe makes the excellent point that the popularity of bangers for concentrates, which is what my mini nail has, which is what Carpe will get done in his honor after we address his comment here for such a great comment. He speculates again or he says that you can't use hash in bangers, which makes, from my experiences with hash and trying to use it, makes sense. It seems like it would make a real mess very quickly. And the popularity of bangers for concentrates now seems like would definitely eke into its popularity as a substance, because if you can't use it with your dab rig you bought, well, you're not really going to buy it. Thank you, Carpe. I had never put that together before. John Edward, and Carpe will get you this dab in a second, says, any tips on filtering out the bad stuff from weed using a bong? Have you ever used a carbon filter, a silicone adapter, mouthpiece, or things on a bong or volcano bag? I have never. To be entirely honest, I don't know anybody who has. I don't know what. I would just be very skeptical about any kind of claims as to what any filter over a mouthpiece of anything could actually filter through, what particulates it would be filtering out to begin with. all of those claims are not going to be tested by anybody, obviously. And I just haven't heard a lot of speculation that there are a lot of particularly dangerous particulate matter that comes out of your bong from what you're inhaling, because, most of the really bad stuff gets trapped in the bong water. And I would just, again, just be a little wary of what use they actually had without any kind of study. People can make a lot of promises. And again, I just don't. There aren't people who are smoking from bongs that are getting cancer at disproportionate amounts to the general public anyways. I'm not telling you not to use them. I just would be a little wary of their actual utility. But I don't actually know, and I hope, John Edwards, that some of us in chat might be able to fill you in a little bit better, who might know more about them. But this is just a kind of ancillary thing. Cigarettes. Actual cigarettes. They have a filter on them. Everybody knows that little filtery thing on the end. So much of that is total theater. The thing turns brown with use, but that is not at all because it is capturing any particulate coming from the smoke. It is literally that the cigarette manufacturers designed a material that, when exposed to the heat coming through, browns like that, as if to appear that it is actually doing something when it is not. It is total theater. Like, when you see something, just because it changes colors and appears to have had some kind of transformation, doesn't mean it's actually true. It could just be designed to change appearance and shape or color, so as to make the user think it has done something when it has not. And I mean, I assume tobacco companies would say, well, our filters actually do filter out some things, even if this thing turns brown, just as theatrics, basically. I'm not saying that's what's happening with things like carbon filters for bombs, but people want to sell you stuff. Okay, Carpe Buy It, I owe you a nice little dab. Let's get to it right here. Already got it partitioned out. This is still that rainbow tongue. I did find my dab carb cap, which I had lost on our last live stream. So we couldn't dab it, but have since found it, obviously. Here we go. Very cool. And not that coffee. Explosive Roland, welcome back. Explosive says, nah, you just squish it all into rosin now. Also, good water hash is totally dabbable. You just need the S tier stuff. Well, thank you as well, Explosive Roland, for that information. And it does seem that rosin does make some of hash redundant. But I think hash will probably continue to exist for a while still, if for no other reason than many people in their youth grew up smoking exclusively hash. And there will always be a market of that to sell to. Like, well, I grew up smoking hash, so that's all I'm ever going to smoke. So there will always be that contingent to make some money off of until that kind of wave dives off. And then hash may more permanently go away. I guess in areas where cannabis is still way more illegal, you might find hash too as a it'd still be easier to make any other concentrate, I would think. I don't know. I assume hash largely exists for cultural reasons at this point. But I would love to hear a argument in the to its favor or in the contrary, if one exists. Well, thank you, John Edwards Drums. I appreciate you saying that. And I try to always make this point every couple of weeks or so, because we talk a lot of shit here on our live streams. We talk a lot about a wide variety of topics, and to be clear, I don't know anything about any of them. I'm a total dumbass. I'm a complete idiot. Do not listen to me. Please, for the love of God, don't take anything I ever say as gospel. Make sure you double check it. I am a dumbass idiot. I just like to describe myself as Dunning-Kruger personified, but maybe just Mr. Dunning-Kruger at this point. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, which gives me all the confidence in the world that I know everything in the world. So I just, because I made those points, please don't take those at face value. Continue to look into it. I genuinely do not know what I'm talking about 90% of the time. My knowledge is surface deep at best, if that's not an insult to the surface of the world. There can be some pretty thick surfaces. The crust of the earth, like 7 miles deep in places, deeper in others. But my level of knowledge, not that great. Ask me any question 2 levels down, and you'll find a terrifying abyss of ignorance and ego. Really, just a bottomless well of unearned self-confidence and again, really prodigious amounts of ignorance. But I do like talking about things, so it's kind of a bad combination. Confident Cake. Welcome, Confident Cake says, rosin is just another way to market lower tier water hash that can't be dabbed, so you squish it and change its visual appearance and consistency. Ooh, Confident Cake coming out with guns blazing and a really fun take on their on the rosin fad in the weed industry. Let's unpack that a little bit. He says that rosin, if I understand his argument, is that it's just a marketing gimmick. It is a way to rebrand the garbage tier water hash, which, to be entirely honest, I don't know what the distinction between water and bubble hash is. And he's saying that already can't be dabbed. So that rosin, they basically just take it and do the rosin process, which is the same process that turns carbon into diamonds. But in this case, he's alleging heat and pressure does not turn shit water hash into gold. It turns it into a cubic zirconia. I've mixed a lot of metaphors there, very high. We were talking about heat and pressure, and we're talking diamonds and rosin. Everything got all jumbled up, just like as if you were in the core of the earth or something. I don't know. I did rewatch the movie The Core recently, which we talked about. And so I feel, again, back to Dunning-Kruger, now I know everything about planetary science and how the Earth's inner core operates. And I feel like if the Earth's core stopped spinning right now, I could probably lead a team of scientists to drill down there, get some nukes going. Sorry, buddy. And start that motherfucker right back up. I know there'll probably be some quirks, kinks and bugs along the way, but I think I can work it out. I'm just that kind of guy. Send me down there. But again, Mr. Dunning-Kruger. Okay, let's do our next bag here. Let's get this temperature up. Forgot to get that up. And let's give this away for Confident Cake and his excellent rosin take. Not just rhyme. So I'm going to take half that bag. Confident Cake, I love your opinion. I love your suggestion. I don't know enough about the weed industry to know how much of that is going on, but I wouldn't doubt it. See previous controversies about things like live resin and what that is and is not. Engaru, welcome. Let me know how you'd like me to say your name. He says, yo, what good, bro? Not too much. Thanks for joining us. We're about to get our fourth bag for Confident Cake. It's rosin cake. John Edwards, thank you for pulling some great choice quotes from that rant. It says, we talk a lot of shit here, and then I am a complete idiot. Both those things are true, but at least we're honest about it. Try to be upfront about it. Okay. Gonzo Baptist, welcome Gonzo. Says, consider me a scientist. And John Edwards says, I'm something of a scientist myself, which is a phrase I recognize from, it's like a cultural meme. I should know what it's from. I can even hear the guy saying it, but I don't remember where it's from. So reference went over my head for the moment. Tony says, Wheats is confident. The only thing that I am confident about is that I am a dumbass and that I don't know anything, which is something. To know that you know nothing is at least one thing. But I do, that is practically the only thing that I am truly confident about, is that I don't know shit. I have also confident that I had a whole rant about confidence intervals, and how we should all learn more about our confidence intervals and how statistical reasoning would be a better thing. But then I was like, that's going to be a tough thing to start going down. So maybe we'll not talk about confidence intervals. Anyways, This bag is for, speaking of confident cake. What would a confident cake be? Is the cake the confident in itself, or is the confident put upon it by a baker? Is it external confident? Where does the confident come from in the confident cake? Are you confident in the cake you baked, or are you a piece of cake, or are you cake that is just fucking, you're going to take on this world. People are going to enjoy your chocolate ass. Which is it, confident cake? Let us know. I think we're all curious. I think we're all dying. Antisocial butterfly. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here. Spreading your wings. Says, I was wondering, do you like sativa or indica? Which one's better? LOL. Excellent question, antisocial butterfly. And also, it's been a while since it's been asked, so I'll go through it briefly. If like somebody was, you must choose either or, I would say indica, probably only to just not annoy the person with a rant. And let me be very clear and upfront right at the top, antisocial butterfly and everybody else. I am not doubting anybody's ability to discern incredibly minute differences between strains and how it will affect them cerebrally, and what it will do to their psychology and how it makes them feel physically. I absolutely 100% believe anybody who has those experiences with weed, and especially, very different experiences on indica and sativa strains. That is not me. I largely see THC as a molecule, and I don't really experience what many people call entourage effects, which are the things that accompany particular strains that make you feel extra ways. I don't know. I don't even know if I could break down my feelings in my brain well enough to know between feeling, saying, uplifted or joyful or euphoric, which are many of the things, you see, like, sometimes described all three in a single strain's ability to give you. And to me, I don't know if I know the difference between those to myself. But other than just being kind of, I guess, of low emotional intelligence and not being able to split hairs super finely about emotional states, I don't think that's true, but maybe. I don't have a huge variety of differences in weed. It mostly makes me all feel very similarly. Not saying that it can't have different experiences, but those are usually much more influenced by what is happening externally than what is happening internally, what I'm inhaling. But that is just me. That probably comes down to I'm not very perceptive about a lot of, went over a little bit before, I'm not a particularly food-oriented person. Maybe that's part of it as well. I just don't have a very refined palate or sense of what different things weed does for me, other than the great thing it always does, which is makes me more curious, makes me more, primarily, that's the thing I love about it the most. It just makes everything even more interesting to me, and makes me just ever so slightly goofier, I guess. Not happier or more joyful, just like more playful, I guess. And all weed sort of seems to do that to me equally. So I'm sorry for the very long answer, but the short answer is indica. Confident Cake says it's their gamer tag. Well, that answers that question. Now, Confident Cake, just to make sure, was this an auto-generated? Like when you hit like, just give me one. Was it Confident Cake that popped up, or did you still select it? My wife, for example, has like, when she created a Gmail account when she was in high school, just did the like, create one for me, and very similar kind of combination of words, and she's just kept it ever since and has added it to her as her like internet handle permanently. And it just was, a roll of the dice from old Google. Until Weeks, I had no consistent online handle that one could trace back. For a long time, I adopted the name of Short Round from Indiana Jones, the most delightful character, which, in case anybody didn't know, if you've seen the wonderful, delightful Everything Everywhere All at Once, the male protagonist, the dude who does the fanny pack combat, that is Short Round from Temple of Doom. And it warms my heart so very much. No Time for Love, Dr. Jones, but I don't know where I was going with that, other than just to make a short round. Glad to see you are in a beloved movie now. Short Round. Ken, whatever your name is. Okay. Frater Lemuel. Frater Lemuel ESLD. I'm sure I butchered that. Welcome. Let me know how you like me to say your name. It says, what's good, bro? Not too much, man. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out with us. Maybe we'll get a dab, second small dab in your and Antisocial Butterfly's honor here in just a second. Oh, Antisocial Butterfly asks, all-time favorite movie and why that you could watch over and over. I have a definitive answer, and it ties into the review I just did. I'm going to go get this second small dab for you and our new friend, Mr. ESLD, and we'll talk about it. Yes, right here. Shh, no. Go, buddy. Go. Favorite movie? favorite movie of all time, and one that I've watched over and over. It is both of those things, my favorite movie and a movie that I've certainly watched over and over. I first watched this movie when I was a sophomore in college. Uh, was super into movies, still am, obviously, and had seen the name Election brought up a bunch as like, oh, this is such a great movie, such a surprisingly great movie. So I was kind of interested in it, but it seemed not like particularly compelling, being Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. Didn't seem like a particular movie I was interested in. That cast gives a particular impression. Although one day I was at Best Buy looking through their big $5 bin or whatever, and there it was. Grabbed it. Along with David Lynch's Dune, I remember. And watched it that next day, and instantly knew it was my new favorite movie of all time, where it has remained ever since. I watched it, I think, the very next day, which I rewatch movies sometimes, not as much as I used to, and certainly with not, I try to watch way more new things than old things, but I at the time wasn't in the habit of rewatching things all immediately or certainly that quickly. And I had never been as blown away by a movie at the time or since. Election, very simply, is the story of a high school class president election gone awry. The favorite to win class presidency is a busybody girl played by Reese Witherspoon, and she gets in a I don't know if I want to spoil the movie, but it is simply about a high school class election that goes awry in very modest, very small scale way. The movie is hysterical. I mean, laugh out loud funny frequently. It is profound always. It is mundane frequently. It has a lot to say, but doesn't like lay out exactly what it has a very, I think, quite nuanced message it's trying to portray about the nature of ethics and morality. Something that is very frank it's trying to do, but less clear about where it lands. And most importantly, has, I think, the greatest ending in all of movies. The director, a guy by the name of Alexander Payne, he basically cannot make movies without incredible endings. All of his movies have best-in-class endings, and Election is no different. It has the last line of the movie I quote all the time. It is an amazing feat of acting and directing, and so perfect. Just such a button ending to a great, funny, devious little movie. Election is the name. I've watched it probably 15 times, maybe, probably more. I could not recommend it more highly. And it is a movie that 100% rewards rewatching. It is something you will pick up a new, I don't know, aspect, a new wink, a new nod, something tucked away inside of it every single time you watch it. And it never isn't hysterical. You gotta watch it. And check out all of Alexander Payne's movies. Again, he is the master of endings. His other movies are About Schmidt, which has Jack Nicholson, about him and his dead wife. Great movie. His most famous is Sideways, the movie about wine with Paul Giamatti. Also has an amazing ending. But Election is his best movie ever, and is also the best movie ever made, and rewards infinite rewatches. But I don't think anybody in the world agrees with me on this. But they're probably all last thing. I said it ties into the cherry on top we had done on our review, which is because it is based on a book, Election. It's based on a book from also called Election by an author named Tom Perrotta, an excellent author who has, this is like an essay waiting to be written by somebody. It'd be a great YouTube essay for some for those film YouTubers. Tom Perrotta, the author who makes books that get turned into better movies. He's like the rare author who writes great things, but the movie versions of his adaptations are the ones that people love. Nobody goes like, oh man, I like the book Election better than the movie. Even though the book is great, he's also the guy who's responsible for why are all of his other things escaping me? Oh, the movie Little Children, which is an excellent movie with Kate Winslet. I mean, a phenomenal movie, just fucking excellent. And if you've heard of the HBO show The Leftovers, which is about a world where like 10% of the population just vanishes in a very rapture-like way, that is also a Tom Perrotta novel, and the show is considered one of the best ever made. This dude, yeah, he just writes great books, and they get turned into incredible pieces of art by other people. Anyways, that is my rant, and thank you for the question. Chicago, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Fraser says, very chill dude. I like to come here often and check the brother out. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Oh, and that it is Hebrew. Well, damn it. I really wanted to say the correct thing in Hebrew, but I was so afraid I was going to butcher it. But, how gauche is it to say Michael Chabon is my favorite author? Love stuff in Hebrew, and Yiddish. Confidence Cake says that his name was auto-generated. Well, I can see why you stuck with it, Confident Cake. With a name like that, you've been permanently branded at that point. There's no going back. The auto-generated gods. Oh, speaking of auto-generation, I did see that Grovel made the comment, which I'm going to get to out of order for a second, which is that Childish Gambino has to be the most famous auto-generated name. I didn't know that. That's where Donald Glover got that name. That is amazing. I do often crack up still thinking about the time where Donald Glover revealed that he used to sign his name as Don Glover, and then realized what that written out what that looks like. That's great and so apropos. Why is Donald Glover? Boy, I'm gonna say something very, maybe, I don't know, controversial. Donald Glover, I mean, national treasure. We all love Troy. Maybe everybody's favorite character on Community. We all love Childish Gambino. The dude knocks it out of the park in everything he's ever done. He kind of sucked as Lando Calrissian, right? Maybe it wasn't his fault, but I don't think he was a particularly good Lando Calrissian. But again, it might not have been Donald Glover's fault. It might have been Ron Howard's fault. And now that I think about it, that makes way more sense. Okay. Freighter says that their favorite movie of all time would have to be Constantine with Keanu Reeves. So real in so many different ways, especially when medicated. Interesting. Keanu's movie Constantine, which is loosely based on the DC character Constantine. I mean, I guess it is supposed to be him, but different hair color. A little Shia in that one. Little Rachel Weisz. That is a movie, Freighter, I'm so interested you bring it up, that has a lot of revisionist, I don't know if that's a bad way to describe it or an unfair way, that is remembered now way more fondly than it was received at the time. Like, there's a lot of people who now quite have warm feelings for Constantine and think it was misunderstood when it was released. I haven't seen it since. Okay, let me try. Constantine. It's going to be the first weekend in May for sure. Damn, there are 3 different years in which I think it could be. But I'm going to have to take a guess on one. I'm going to say Constantine is the first weekend in May, 2000. I'm going to narrow it down to 4 or 5, 2004 or 5. But which of the two? Let's go Constantine. First weekend in May, or March. First weekend in March, I'm sorry, 2005. It's my X-Men power. You can look it up. I don't care to. It's just being an asshole. Great choice, Freighter, for a favorite movie, Constantine. I haven't seen it since it came out. Would be curious how I receive it now. Confident Cake says that his favorite movie would have to be something from Tarantino. Got a lot to choose from there. Well, which would you go with? Which would you narrow it down to, Confident Cake? I think I would still go with Pulp Fiction. That's the obvious one, but a shocking number of people say Inglourious Bastards, which kind of also similar to Constantine, wasn't as warmly received. Generally speaking, though, I have absolutely loved every Quentin Tarantino movie I've seen, except for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is the first one that I was straight up disappointed with, and really thought missed the mark completely. Really was wondering what was going on in Tarantino's head. But Also, people seem to love it though, so I could be backwards. But very curious, Confident Cake, which Tarantino is your favorite? Justin says he's on a smoke break till January 1st. Wow, man. Well, good luck to you. Let's get this next bag in for Justin and his, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 month long tolerance break. Thanks for hanging out with us even on this tolerance break, man. Super appreciate it. And again, wish you all of the success in the world. Also, Justin, I hope for you that while you are away from smoking, you pick up something, a new habit, in its place, and one that's less. I mean, I don't want to tell you what to do, but there are, a lot of ways to replace the time from smoking weed that can be put to really cool use. Go play some frisbee golf with all the guys who are smoking. That's probably a terrible idea, but I hope you develop a new hobby or a new skill or something while you are away from weed. That's all I meant to say. Tony Day says, "Why are you so cool, Wheats?" I have no idea. But thank you. It took me a long time to figure out the response to that somehow. Anthony, I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to your comment. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Anthony is a Chicago native, or he's from Chicago at least. And he says he loves Jewish lightning. I say that being ignorant to any wider meaning or context. If it means anything, I don't know. I hope not. But sincerely, thank you for hanging out with us. And I hope Jewish lightning is a totally innocuous phrase. But you never know when something starts with Jewish, what direction it's going to go. Grovel says that he refused to watch the Solo movie. Grovel. Probably a great choice. It's no worse than you think it will be, but it is absolutely no better. It's the worst examples of like, oh, here's the thing that you recognize. Here, we're going to give you the story of the thing that you didn't really give a shit about. Every kind of piece of detritus around Han Solo and Chewbacca, the most uninteresting things about them that just happen to be grafted onto their image or the public's perception of them, like, whatever. They could be the most mundane of things. And the prequel thing is very guilty of the like, oh, this is where he gets the fuzzy dice. This is where and ones that you don't even care about, or like would have no reason to be invested in the meaning of something. It like builds it up as like the grand reveal of why Han Solo parts his hair this way. And, it was delivered to crickets on opening night. But being a Ron Howard movie, and I mean this in the most insincere of ways, it is absolutely 100% adequate filmmaking otherwise. I mean, I don't mean it insincerely in that it's not adequate filmmaking. I just mean it is like a Ron Howard movie in that it is like, wow, this is so competent. It's like, wow, this movie was made by somebody who definitely knows what lens to use for this situation. Wow, this movie is made by somebody who hired a correct color grader, that kind of thing. But rarely, wow, this moved me, or wow, this thrilled me. But those two things can often happen with Ron Howard. Sorry, Mr. Howard. Apollo 13 is great. We all love Apollo 13. Tony says, if I ever seen Mr. Nobody, it's definitely his favorite movie, hands down. No, and why do I feel like I don't even recognize the title? Oh, it's the Jared Leto movie. Yeah, I have never seen it. I don't know a whole lot about it other than it is a cult classic. Oh, outside of Jared Leto, it has a great cast: Sarah Polley and Diane Kruger, Rice Evans, I think is how you say his last name. I don't know. I think I'd always just been sort of put off by the image of Jared Leto on that one sheet, but Tony, you seem like a man of good taste. Maybe I have to reconsider. Excuse me, I have to blow my nose again. I'll mute the mic at least. Okay, thank you. Gonzo Baptist says his favorite movie is Hostel. Wow. I think, still in context, Hostel. I know this one for sure, by the way. My X-Men Power. I know my movie release dates, like last 15 years or so. Hostel is going to be January 2006. Maybe first weekend of January 2006. I'm going to lock that in. Final answer. Again, locked in. And I'm going to put my triple bonus on that one. Okay. Frater says that he's heavy with the horror, esoteric, mystery, and real life documentary type of films. Ooh, I am also a big fan of horror. Well, I like all genres, but I do have an affinity for horror in all formats, except video games, which I really do. I'm a big coward about. I love horror literature. I love horror films. I mean, and I don't get ever terrified, but I get appropriately scared and jumpy, and my pulse races as it should. But I've never been overwhelmingly scared by a horror movie, which is probably why I enjoy them. That I happen to be on that nice line of finding them still very enjoyable and scary without going over on either one. Anyways, but with video games, I'm largely a coward. I can totally play any horror video game for the most part. The argument to be here would be, well, how could that be horror? Is if your character is reasonably equipped to deal with the situation at hand, and that seems like a fancy way of saying that you can kill the monsters at least. Like a Resident Evil 4. Not only have I played Resident Evil 4 multiple times, I played through the VR adaptation a year ago. Loved it, amazing, incredible. But Leon can kill the fuck out of anything in that game. He's a total badass. You never feel like you're, except for very scripted moments, you never feel in a constant state of, I am going to be ripped to shreds at any moment. So I can play those horror games all day. The horror games where it is just 100% tension all of the time, where mistakes lead to grisly deaths, immediate and, immediate disembowelment by either the environment or something chasing you, those I am, no thank you. I genuinely find them too much. Like, I cannot stand that constant tension. It is too much all the time. And even in the moments where it feels like you can breathe, the sense that you are, have no hope against the odds that you are facing still makes it totally uneasy for me at all times. So that was a long answer to a question you didn't ask about horror, but I do like horror movies, and just rewatched They Live over the weekend. That is not horror, though. That is science fiction and comedy. Gonzo says, not sure if Tarantino wrote or directed it. Oh, Hostel. Oh, Gonzo Baptist, he didn't either. He executive produced it. Be very careful if you ever see a famous name associated with a movie project or whatever. Rarely does that mean that famous person helped make the movie. It means often this happens where Hostel might even pay Quentin Tarantino some money to say that it was executive produced by him, purely for the reason that you would think that Quentin Tarantino has something to do with Hostel. Now, I don't think it's that nakedly gross in that case. I'm guessing Quentin Tarantino had a development company that pitched in some money to the Hostel studios, or he gave some money directly to Eli Roth or something. But that kind of shit definitely happens where somebody will just basically be given a credit on a movie so that they can use their name in marketing, so that there will be an association between that person, that movie, even when there is no real relationship. Steven Spielberg was, of course, the worst of this for the longest time, where Steven Spielberg presented 10 blockbusters a year, and many people conflated presents with directs. Carpet Byet says, favorite stoner munchie. I'm eating some Jack in the Box right now. Ooh, good question. My two different criteria would be things that you can just eat if you really do have like the munchies and you just like want that sensation of eating and like feels great to eat when you're super high. Thankfully, I don't really get the munchies at all anymore. Not that I don't, my appetite doesn't increase when getting high, but not that like insatiable sense, which, I certainly got when I first started doing weed. Like, absolutely. But I would love something like, I don't know, dry cereal. You just sit there and just munch on it all the time. I'm a weirdo though. But largely if like I just have, if I'm high and I want something to snack on because I'm feeling high, something super flavorful, like good old candy, man. I think they were a cherry on top ones. The best candy of all time are Nerds. I think they're called Big Chewy Nerds now. At other times they were called Big Bumpy Beans. These are the best candies of all time. If you're like me and you think Nerds not great, like the actual little, just sugar molecules that have probably been burned slightly to crystallize in the way that they are and then dyed a pink or purple. Not the best candy in the world, Nerds, admittedly. But Nerds somehow is an amazing ancillary candy. It either combines well with other things or their experiments themselves are excellent. So the thing I'm speaking of, it has no nerds in it, no traditional nerds. This is just a completely, just uses the nerd name. I saw it over a decade ago for the first time as advertised as Nerds' Easter egg jelly bean, but now you can find it as anytime candy, thank God. It's still rare to find, but they're nothing like Nerds. They're not small and crunchy. They're big. They've got a crunchy shell and a very novel, wonderful interior. Nerds, big chewy nerds, big bumpy beans, whatever you got to do to get your hand on some nerds, get your hand on some fucking nerds. Always been saying that. Additionally, one last nerds rant. It's not just the nerds spin-offs that are great, or like the nerds, uses the branding. Things with nerds on them, used in conjunction with nerds, are also incredible. If you get the chance to try the Nerds Gummy Cluster, give that shit a shot. It's like a great, very sticky red gummy candy with like regular nerds as meteors on top of it, and then you just pop them in your mouth, and they're excellent. And you think to yourself, holy shit, nerds. Why do nerds, which are a candy that I otherwise would be like, oh man, who the fuck brings nerds to the movie? But you stick those little guys on top of a nice gummy, it's excellent. It elevates them both. It makes you reconsider the whole idea of fine dining, actually, that maybe there is something to it. I think I said last nerds thing, but you know what? I'm just going for it. I gotta get through this last bag and I let it go stale. So I'm just gonna wait for it. I hadn't been to Sonic since I left the South many years ago. But very recently, I was in Orange County. There was a Sonic there. Stop. And they offer their wide variety. They're insane. If you've ever been to a Sonic or know anything about them, they have a laughably huge menu of drinks, slushies, ice creamy things, just unbelievable variety. And of all different flavors, every different, color combination. I think they even, like, for example, have a pickled juice, maybe one. But I went with like a good old blue raspberry slush. But then they offer what sounds awful. Nerds added to your slushy, where they'll just pour some nerds right on in and like blend it in with your slushy. And you can do that. And that sounds dreadful. Like, who wants little nerds coming up their nice slushy? But we all knew, and by we all, I mean my wife and I, how nerds just seem to be wizards at the food science. So, I mean, I don't think I've ever done anything more adventurous in my entire life. I said, yes, sir, I'll take that nerds add-in. And the person said, I'm not a sir. How did you get this wrong? And I said, I apologize. You're not actually a sir. I'm just telling this story wrong. You weren't actually part of this. And they said, okay. That never happened. But I said, I'll take those nerds. And guys, I got to tell you, a slushie with nerds in it. How does it work? But it goddamn does. You just get these little delight in your sugar water. You just get these little pockets of solid sugar. You have like liquid, vaguely liquid sugar, slush. And then every now and then you have this just intense, even more intense burst of solid sugar, and you give it a little crunch, and it's revelatory. Nerds, maybe it makes sense that they geeks when it comes to food science. Okay, guys, I'm cooked. It's been really wonderful hanging out with everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I missed any of your comments. I know I did. Thank you so much, Ken, Nikki, Murray. I'm so sorry to be leaving now, but it is time for me to say farewell. I think I've been on too long, in fact. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody who watched our premiere as well. And I will be back. Definitely not Monday. Definitely not Monday. That's a holiday. But I should hopefully be back next week. I've got to get the reviews finished